Welcome to Project Quiver, a father-daughter journey across the globe to capture the artistry and spirit of the world's finest traditional bow carvers. I'm Todd, the father. Ella is my daughter. Together we're on a mission to create a stunning coffee table book that profiles more than a dozen master bowyers and their unparalleled skill. For each chapter, we travel to the bowyer's workshop, carve a bow under his guidance, photograph his woodcraft in detail, and share his story here on the Salish Wolf podcast. The book is called Quiver, The Art of Life Through Bowcraft. And this journey, our living story, is Project Quiver. Blayne, thanks for joining me. I'm really glad we were able to do this.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Pleasure. I was just scrolling through your Instagram. You make a lot of cool things.
Thank you.
It's not just arrows.
Yeah, the arrows, I haven't really done any for, I guess, probably a year now. So
why is that?
Mostly the shaft supply dried up that I had. The guy that was making the shafts stopped milling, so I kind of had to stop too.
Oh,
it was actually my next door neighbor that was doing it. And so being able to source Canadian shafts was kind of ideal.
Yeah.
And then, so anyway, it was just time to change it up anyway. I was finding I wanted to have some other creative outlets, so I started carving spoons.
I saw some spoons. That looks really cool.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration for that?
I think mainly I was sort of feeling, because we live quite remote up in Haida Gwaii here, so there's not a lot of people around to begin with. And all my work I was mailing out to people, so I would never get interactions one-on-one with essentially anyone that I was selling arrows to. And I thought it'd be really nice to be able to go in the community, go to markets, actually see people. And plus it's something I can do in the house because it doesn't smell. There's no dust. It's just me and my knives. So I can be there with my family while I'm doing it instead of having to go disappear into my shed that I was working in.
Okay.
So yeah,
it's
more of a social thing. And pardon me?
How's it going?
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, the spoons are well received and people are enjoying them.
So Haida Gwaii, you said it's pretty remote. A lot of people aren't going to know anything about Haida Gwaii. Can you talk for a minute about where it is that you live?
Yeah, it's an island off the northwest coast of BC. We're actually closer to Southeast Alaska than almost anywhere else in BC. We're I think it's about 60 miles off the coast. So when we get on a ferry from Prince Rupert, and that brings us across to the islands, it's a 6-hour ferry ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a long ferry ride. How long have you been there?
5.5 years.
And what took you there?
Just change it up. Yeah. And something I'd been wanting to do for a number of years, and then a property just kind of fell in our lap and we went, let's just grab it and let's do this thing. So we did.
That's so cool. And then you said you have a family. Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have two. One of them, one's older. She lives on Vancouver Island, and the other one is 10 and she lives with us up here.
Okay. And then are you carving as a full-time profession?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, it's not a full-time income. It's what I do. I'm mainly a stay-at-home dad, and then I do bits of this and that construction work and walk the dogs and homestead and hunt and fish. And
nice.
Yeah.
So have you always worked with wood?
Actually, I did my apprenticeship in sheet metal.
Okay.
Which is pretty funny. And I started building bows in 2013, I think. So I was still working then, but I was able to stop working there when my daughter was born in 2015. And that's kind of when I really got into doing the bow building and arrow building and stuff. I actually did the Raven Beak course the summer of 2015. So my daughter was just like 2 or 3 months old.
Yeah.
And I built a bow myself, and then I decided to take Jamie's course, and that sort of kicked off everything with the arrow building. And shortly after that, I met the guy up here who was doing the shaft milling, and he suggested I get into building arrows. And then 8 years later, I was still doing arrows.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah.
What was your inspiration for getting into bow carving?
So I was hunting in this area on Vancouver Island where you weren't allowed to use a rifle. It was too close to a town up near Courtenay. And so I had to use a shotgun. And I had an incident where I shot at a deer and I wasn't sure if I hit it or not. And it took off. And I just thought, this is lame. I want to be able to see my projectile flying. And I know if I hit or miss. And then that was sort of the start of it for me. I'd shot a compound in the past a little bit, and so I was familiar with archery. And so then I went to the hardware store and I bought a maple board that had the grain running straight through it, and bought a draw knife and a few other tools, and I just built this maple board bow. And it didn't break. As far as I know, it's still alive. I gave it to my friend to let his son use it, and pretty sure it's still alive.
So why did you want to build your first bow rather than just buying one for hunting?
I didn't really know where to turn. I was kind of intimidated by the whole thing, and I just thought, and money wise, I had no idea I didn't know about things like a Samick Sage back then where you could just pick one up for $100. I didn't have any clue. And rather than going into the sporting goods store and being disappointed, I thought, well, I can buy a $20 board from the hardware store and a few tools, and I can just build one. So I was looking at Poor Folk Bows, his website, and early Clay Hayes stuff on YouTube.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of learned how to do it.
What's the first one that you said?
His name was Poor Folk Bows.
Okay. Yeah, I recognize it. Okay.
I can't even remember what his first name is, but.
So you learned to carve that bow based on just a few websites, Clay Hayes and Poor Folk Bows?
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, I had no mentor. I just sort of kind of had a grasp of the concept. And so I just kind of went to it, and I did the bow scale thing with the bathroom scale and pulled it down that way to get my draw weight. And I built a little tiller tree that didn't have a pulley. I was just pulling it down and clipping it into notches, and super rudimentary.
But it worked.
But it worked.
Did you have any carving experience of anything before that?
I mean, I've been playing with knives my whole life. So I've always, even as a child, I was whittling, and I probably had my first pocket knife when I was 5. And I grew up in a pretty small hillbilly town. So it was not uncommon for kids to be walking down the train tracks with pellet guns, and everybody's packing knives around, and, that sort of thing in the 80s. So, that was on Vancouver Island too.
That was Vancouver Island. Okay.
Yeah. Near Courtenay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And so then you made your first bow, and then did you make any more before you went to study with Jamie at Ravenbeak?
I don't. I think I messed around a little bit, but I never finished any other bows. I tried making a oak board bow or something, and either it didn't, I don't think it broke, but I just stopped on it. And then, I went to do Jamie's course and
made an English longbow, I presume.
Yeah, it was a flat bow, actually. Yeah.
Flat bow. Okay.
Yeah. Because my whole purpose was to hunt with it. So I wanted something that was stable.
A little more compact.
Yeah, compact, and then with a rigid handle. So I had a good arrow shelf so I could cut it in a little bit and things like that.
Okay. And you used that bow to hunt?
And I killed a deer with it. And that's how I ended up coming here and meeting the guy that was building arrow shafts, because I posted a story about it on Trad Gang, and he saw it and invited me up here to hunt with him. So we did that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I killed a deer up here with it, and then went home with some arrow shafts and some inspiration, and bought a couple fletching jigs and this and that, and I got started doing it. And then I saw Jamie a couple of months later, and I told him what I was doing, and he said, "Oh, you want to build arrows for Ravenbeak? We need somebody to do it." So, and where he's at in Powell River and where I'm at in Courtenay, we're separated by a ferry. So, and his mom lived in Courtenay, so he would bring stuff over, and I'd pick it up from her, and then I'd build arrows, and then he'd come pick up when I had 10 or 12 dozen done. And so we did that for a few years. So that was quite an education in arrow building for me.
Yeah. And are you still making bows, or did the arrows replace that?
I messed around building bows until I think the last bow I built was, the last one I finished was probably 2 years ago. And then last winter I helped another fellow here build one. And I'd started one while he was building his. And so I still have one it's about ready to go on a tiller tree anyway, but I haven't put the effort into it since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, the inspiration comes and goes. I think, oh, it'd be fun to build a bow again. And then it just doesn't happen. So, and right now we've been ramping up production for all the Christmas craft markets with spoons. So I'm totally focused on that.
Are you selling a lot?
Well, I sold probably 30 of them over the summer at craft markets, and then I've sold some to friends and family off of there. And last Christmas, I sold around another 30. So if there's inventory, there's opportunity. So I'm just making a bunch to get them ready to go.
Yeah, cool. So for the arrows, when you got into that, Jamie uses bamboo shafts for his arrows.
Yeah.
Is that what you were using when you were making them for him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so he'd just bring me piles of them, and then I would just work through them as needed, random spines.
But I presume your neighbor wasn't milling bamboo shaft arrows.
No, it was Sitka spruce. So old growth Sitka spruce from up here in Haida Gwaii. Okay. So we'd go salvage it from the cut blocks or buy logs from the logging company, and then he'd mill them up. So yeah, so they were milled dowels.
Yeah. And was that specifically for arrow shafts? That's why he was milling them?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And he's not any longer?
Not anymore, no.
Yeah, okay. And what was that like for you? I've made a few arrows, but it didn't captivate me the way the bow making does. Like I didn't really feel as drawn to it, or I didn't feel it was as therapeutic, but speak with other people who make arrows and they absolutely love it. Like, how was it for you? Like is there artistry behind it? Does it feel like, for me, it felt a little bit too kind of assembly line.
Right. There was definitely some artistry to it because I was cresting everything too. So that, and putting caps on, which is the paint at the top 10 inches or so of the shaft. Okay. And then choosing different feathers, or I'd have people that would reach out and say, hey, I want my arrows like this. And so I would have to come up with something and make them look really cool for them. So there was definitely some creativity involved. But after, by the time I stopped doing it, I think it was time for me to kind of stop doing it. I just wasn't as passionate about it anymore. And it was a time factor. I would have to go in my shed and be there for, I'd go down for, say, 15 minutes and do a quick dip on something or a repaint on something. So it's just back and forth constantly. And then when it was time to actually fletch them, then I would be in there for a couple hours, finishing them, fletching them, burning them, doing the wrap that I do on them and the leading edge of the feather, packaging, all that stuff. So it was a lot of time of just being away from my family doing that. And I think it did get a little monotonous at times.
Did it? Do you think you'll get back into it at any point?
If I do, it'll be primitive arrows. I'll be making them out of shoot shafts, not out of milled shafts.
Okay.
Because the main reason is that, the main place I can get them from is Sherwood shafts in Oregon, which are great shafts. It's just cost prohibitive for me to do that with exchange and shipping and all those things. So, and then also a lot of my arrows were going to the States, and now with the tariff thing
shipping them back. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I think it was a good time that it just sort of stopped for me. So I didn't have that disappointment of now I have all this extra stuff I have to work around. Mm-hmm. Definitely sold a lot of arrows in Canada, but it was, probably 75% went to the States. So.
Right. And what about archery? You hunt using a bow. Is archery something that you're passionate about, or is it something you just do occasionally?
Yeah, my passion's kind of weaned on it. It's just, I go through cycles with things, in the spring, I'll probably shoot a bit more, but I haven't hunted with a bow for a number of years. Up here, I'm just rifle hunting. And I'm not even hunting that much. Like I'll go in the rut and get a couple of deer, and that's kind of as far as it goes for me. I was a lot more passionate about hunting a number of years ago, and now I'm just doing other things. So
yeah.
Well, a couple deer
interesting
for
to go.
a family, small family is probably enough, isn't it, for the year?
Not really. I mean, the deer are
No.
quite small, so I could probably put. We are allowed 15 deer per season here, so I could probably put 10 deer in the freezer and be. That would probably be good.
10.
So,
Wow.
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. A lot of people shoot a lot of deer up here because there's
Yeah.
no predators, so they're not as prolific as you would think with the number of deer we're allowed, but there are still a lot of deer.
There's
So
no
you put in the
wolves.
time.
Yeah.
There's no wolves, no cougars, just black bears, and the black bears don't really bother them.
Oh. Yeah.
Black bears are more interested in eating salmon and berries.
Yeah. I haven't made it to Haida Gwaii. I really want to get there. What's it like? Like, it's compared to like where you grew up on Vancouver Island. I just imagine it's so much more wild than that even.
Yeah, there's a lot less people, obviously. It's a lot similar to northern Vancouver Island, so Port Hardy area. It's that same kind of forest. It's spruce and hemlock dominated. There's no Douglas fir. There's not a lot of understory diversity here. We have not the shrubbery that is on Vancouver Island. So there's no ocean spray. There's very little red osier maple red osier dogwood. There's no big leaf maple. There's a lot of alder. There's yellow and red cedar. There's areas where the forest is very open underneath, which is really cool. You can see through the trees, and it's just a moss carpet and large second growth or old growth trees.
Is there no more first growth?
There's still old growth for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What is that? More cedars or a bit of all of them?
It's a mix. Depends where you go.
Yeah.
There's spots where there's giant old growth spruce, but they're kind of intermixed.
Okay.
This monoculture forestry that you see now, where you go into one area and it's all just one type of tree, that's second growth, and that's the way it's replanted. That's not nature's way of doing it.
Yeah. And then how many islands are in Haida Gwaii?
There is something like 200. It's a whole pile, but lots of them are really small. There's two main islands, Graham Island and Moresby Island. They're the two biggest, and then there's down to islands that are less than an acre in size.
Okay. And then being that far north, is the weather, are you getting snow, or is it kind of coastal, so you're not really getting much?
It's very coastal, so we don't get a lot of snow here.
That's crazy being that far north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get generally around Christmas time, and then into January, that's when we get a little bit of snow. And then by mid-February, the salmonberry flowers are starting to open, and so like it feels spring-like already by mid-February.
Yeah. Awesome. So your handle on Instagram is Stump Stalker. And that comes from shooting stumps, I presume.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that something that has been a passion of yours?
I did a lot of stump shooting when I lived on Vancouver Island.
Okay.
And I've done some here, but again, it just kind of, as my passion for it waned down, I stopped doing it. But on Vancouver Island, when my daughter was a toddler, I would take her out every day somewhere in the woods, and usually I would take her and I'd bring my bow with me, and I'd push her out somewhere in a stroller and then just let her wander around on the mountain bike trails, and I'd shoot stumps off to the side. And we did that for years as she grew. It was so cool.
Nice. Is she into archery?
She shoots a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. She'll pick it up once in a while. She'll just say, "Dad, let's go shoot." So we'll go out and shoot for a bit. Yeah.
Cool. And for your arrowheads, do you make your own? Did you make your own?
No, I always bought steel. Yeah. I tried flint knapping with Ryan a few times, and I need a lot more practice for sure. It's not something you can just jump into, I think.
Yeah. You have some arrows posted with some flint knapped arrowheads. Did you make those?
No, those were Brendan Millette. He's another one of our crew from Vancouver Island.
Yeah. Those are really cool. So the steel ones you did not make?
No.
Yeah. Okay. And then what's the plan for the future? Is it spoons all the way for the time being?
For right now, yeah. I don't know. I might put an addition on my house this summer so that if that happens, then there'll be less spoons being made because I'll have my hands tied up with that.
Yeah.
So
What kind of wood do you
I
make
don't
them out
know.
of?
Pardon me?
What kind of wood do you
The
use?
spoons? Alder.
Yeah. Always?
Now I do, yeah. I was bringing cherry and big leaf maple up from Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
I found though that at the markets, people were really drawn to the local stuff. So I've just switched straight to alder. And my property has probably a 1/4 acre of just alder trees on it. So there's so much there.
Yeah.
I got
I guess don't
probably
need
a
much for a
30-foot
spoon.
log, a 30-foot log by 8-inch diameter at the base, just laying there that we had taken down the other day. And so there's hundreds of spoons in that log.
Do you guys have arbutus up there?
No. Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really grow much past Campbell River on Vancouver Island. And then
Okay.
I don't know on the Central Coast how far up it goes, but I would presume it's probably around that same 51st parallel kind of zone.
Okay. So if you don't mind, can you tell me a bit more about some of the bows that you made?
Yeah, I've made mostly yew wood bows. It was quite a common wood where I lived on Vancouver Island, so I was able to
Not on
get a
Haida
fair bit
Gwaii,
of it.
though?
There is yew up here for sure.
Is there?
It's
Okay.
not nearly as common as it is in the Comox Valley. I feel like it's because of the way the logging practices changed because I lived in Cumberland, that forest there was logged predominantly at the turn of the century when they were building the coal mines. So they used that for building houses, building stuff in the coal mines, all the bracing and all that stuff. And they didn't just cut everything then. They'd cut what they wanted and left. It was more selective. So they didn't cut the yew trees down because it was just more of a hassle to get it out of the way once it was down. But there was changes in forest practices in the 50s and 60s. And that's when this place got really logged hard when it got mechanized and they just cut everything. And there was the yew trees also, because a big tree would fall on a yew tree and because it's so strong, that tree would just sit on it. And it caused a lot of injuries because suddenly the yew tree would just spring back and throw the bigger log
Wow.
It was just so that there was logging practice changes and they cut everything essentially. So you don't walk through a second growth here and find a random yew tree just growing there like I did on Vancouver Island. So I think the majority of it was wiped out. And
Yeah.
I also heard a lot of people were here cutting the yew trees for the bark for that Taxol for the cancer drug.
Yeah.
I've heard a couple people mention that lately that they used
Really?
to do that. Yeah.
Who's they? Like pharmaceutical
people.
industry or people selling it to the pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, people just selling it to the pharmaceutical companies, I guess. There must have been buyers here. Sort of like how people go mushroom picking now and then there's buyers for the mushrooms.
Yeah.
So they would go out and they said they'd go through the cut blocks before it got logged, which maybe they did. But once you take all the bark off, the tree's going to die anyway. So
Yeah.
there's no chance of
Damn.
it surviving.
It's a sad state. I was with Jamie in Powell River probably July, I
Yep.
guess. Well, it could have been August. Anyway, this past summer. And he took me into the logging roads near his place. And these are the network of roads is incredible. And these are, I don't know, for me, I guess I always kind of thought a logging road was like this, just like this rough little 1-lane thing that's cut into a mountainside. But no, these are like highways going through like 40, 50 kilometers of this highway network of dirt roads with these huge log trucks. And Jamie took us to see one of his favorite yew spots, and it was gone. Like they were literally cutting it down as we were driving in. And so he took us to see some other areas, but we would see these huge stacks of fir, and mostly it was fir trees, huge. And then like sometimes growing out of the stack was like this yew tree, tiny little yew tree that they just like buried under the stack of all the cut fir. And all around the perimeter, you could see these little scraggly yew trees that had not yet been cut down, but they were all going to be going eventually. Yeah. And it's just, as far as you can see, like the mountainsides are just being absolutely ransacked.
Yeah, I don't know. I think about that and go, I wonder how many millions of bow staves were just
Oh man.
destroyed on these islands, you know.
Yeah.
The fellow that taught Pete Woodland how to build bows, he lived up here, and so I think he was a faller too. So he
Yeah.
had,
Udendorfer. Yeah, I can't remember his first name,
yeah,
but
Andreas is his first
Andreas
name, I think.
Udendorfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had the first pick of all the choicest wood. And so that's how he got, I think he came here and went, whoa, there's a resource here and I need to do something with it.
Yeah.
So that's what he did. And people around here have wood stashed in their crawl spaces and basements. They brought it home and thought they'd get trim made out of it, milled up someday. And so I imagine there's lots of super dry wood around here that just start asking the right people.
Mm-hmm.
It also makes really good firewood. So I imagine a lot of it just went in people's wood stoves.
Yeah. Did you mostly make bows out of yew, or were there other woods that you used as well?
Mostly yew. I got a few Osage staves from Ryan Wizard Goat. We did trades for various things. So I've built, actually for a long time, I had no yew bows on my rack. They were all Osage bows, which was kind of funny being from BC coast.
Yeah.
So now I built a yew longbow a couple years ago, and that one's on my rack. So at least I have one example of a yew longbow. I was trying to when I take my arrow pictures, I like to add a bow into the picture because it looks kind of sharp and context.
Yeah.
And I went, I don't have any bows made out of yew wood. This is so weird. So better do that. So I've used yew and Osage. I messed around a little bit with a few other whitewood species. I tried one out of Pacific dogwood that broke. Made a couple of little kids' bows out of hazel. I tried one out of Douglas maple, but I don't think I ever got it finished. Yeah, that's probably about it.
Yeah. What is your preference between the Osage and the yew for carving?
Probably yew. It's a little bit softer.
Yeah, it's definitely softer.
Yeah, but I don't know, the Osage is just something cool about it because it's so different from any other wood I've used. So the Osage it was a very unique experience to do that. And my first Osage bow I built at one of our gatherings with Ryan. So that was really cool to just, my first opportunity to use it. He brought me a stave, and that weekend I built a bow with it. That was pretty rad. I still have it.
Flat bows
yeah.
mostly?
And it's got like 3 inches of reflex. The thing's ridiculous. I used to shoot it really well, and then from not shooting so much, it's pretty heavy. It's like a high 50s bow. It was actually 64, I think, when I finished it originally, and then I retailored it, took some weight out of it. But the thing is, that's my fastest bow for sure. Yeah. That much reflex. It's got so much hand shock too. I don't know why I thought it was really nice to shoot for a while, but I sure don't now.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I pick up a bow that I haven't shot for a while, I'm always critiquing. I'm like, oh man, I remember when this thing was, fresh out of my workshop, and it was the apple of my eye. I couldn't believe it. I made it. And now I'm just like, that thing needs to be reworked or burnt.
Yeah, this one, it looks great. And I like how it turned out, but it's good, that beautiful dark orange color now from oxidization. It's because I built it, I think, in 2017 or 2018. So it's been around for a while now. And yeah, it's just wonderful. And then I have another one that I built, but it's got some stress fractures on the belly. So I didn't build it wide enough. That was my mistake. It was a really cool snaky piece of wood too. So that one I don't shoot anymore. And then I have another Osage that I was given in a trade from a fellow from Ontario. And that's a really nice, big, wide limbed flat bow. And that one shoots super nice. No hand shock. It's really smooth.
Right. What do you hunt with traditionally when you bow hunt?
It's been my yew self bows predominantly. Yeah. I've hunted with a glass bow a little bit too.
Yeah. But you're not hunting right now with a bow?
No. Yeah. I'm just not putting the time into shooting. So it's sort of.
Yeah. What's the difference for you though, as far as the, I don't know, I'll call it the emotional rewards hunting with a gun versus with a self bow? Is there?
Ye- Yeah, I think with a rifle, there's more relief because you shoot it, and what I shoot neck shoot deer, so they just drop right where I shoot them. So there's none of
Yeah.
the what if. It's just there. It's dead. I don't have to track it. I don't have to worry about it just hiding in a hole and disappearing and not being able to find it. So that part is easier. But I don't know. I've actually quite enjoyed rifle hunting since it's fairly new to me because I was always hunting in this shotgun area. So it was either a shotgun or a bow. And so rifle hunting is actually kind of unique to me, which is funny because I've hunted a lot of my life. So actually quite enjoying it. But the archery hunting it's way nicer to carry a bow in the forest, that's for sure. It's so light and easy, and yeah, I don't know. I just like being out in the woods and hunting, but I don't love being out in the woods and hunting all the time. Just a little bit, and I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
that's kind of how I've evolved into it. I used to just want to be all the time, and now I'm just more content to be closer to home and just go and when it's the right time of the year and for the rut. And we can also hunt here in the summertime. Our hunting season's 9 months long, so we can hunt in the summertime. And the buck, you can hunt bucks in the summertime, and they're very nonchalant and just kind of there, and they're not too hard to hunt. But at the same time, it almost feels not cheating, but it just doesn't give you the same thrill as seeing them when they're hard horned and they're just majestic with their big neck, and they're in the rut, and they're just, there's something about that part.
Yeah. Do you do anything with the non-meat part of the deer?
I
Do anything
haven't,
with the
no,
skin or the antlers?
no. I usually keep the antlers for various craft projects, but I haven't done anything with the hides before.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've never hunted. So it's something that growing up, it was never like a thing that anyone in my family did. And I wasn't into archery then. And now that I'm into archery, not really living in BC that much and just haven't done it. I'm not sure how I would feel about doing it either. I know
Yeah,
it's a big step from being able to take a life and having never done it. So like I have a farm in BC, so I've farm animals that I've had to put down, but it's different from hunting.
yeah. Well, you probably have a fair number of deer running around your farm.
Yeah, we had a deer fence, and that still is not highly successful.
Right.
It's partially successful. Yeah, so there have been days where when I'm there in the summer, I'm like, "That deer just keeps eating all of our vegetables," and so yeah, I've been tempted,
Yeah.
but I also don't want to do a poor job at it either. So
Yeah.
so and
Yeah.
they're pretty spooked.
I grew up, my dad wasn't much of a hunter, but three of my uncles on my mom's side and my grandpa, they were hunting all the time. So it was, and everybody in my community, it was a pretty big culture of that there. So it was not uncommon for sure. There was
Yeah.
always, you'd show up at somebody's house and there's a deer hanging on the porch, or, there was always rifles and pickups and boxes of shells, and it was pretty nonchalant, and it's not like that now.
Mm-hmm. Just part of life. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little more like that up here though, because people hunt so much. It's not uncommon to be just walking around town and a truck goes by with a deer hanging, you can see it in the box of the truck or whatever. So it's quite commonplace up here.
I had one quick question though. You were saying you wanted to make arrows out of non-milled shafts. What type of material?
Mostly ocean spray.
But you said you don't have that there, right?
We don't have it here. No. So mostly I've used ocean spray in the past. I have some shafts at home that I've brought up from Vancouver Island. We do have red osier
Okay.
dogwood here in limited quantities. There's also Nootka rose around, and that's pretty much it for what I could get for shoot shafts.
Cool. Oh, that sounds fun. I've never tried to do that. Natural arrows. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, it's
Do you
really
shape?
fun.
Yeah. Do you have to like bend the shafts at all? Do you have to steam them at all, or you just find the straightest ones?
I use dry heat. I actually
Okay.
use my alcohol burner, an alcohol burner that I'd use for putting the points on my shafts, like on my finished arrows. I use that,
Yeah.
and I just heat up spots on the dowel or the shoot, and that will allow you. It makes the wood elasticy so you can bend it,
Okay.
and then as it cools, it'll hold that shape.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Jude, thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I've heard about you for quite a number of years, so it's good to finally connect with you and meet you.
Totally. Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Todd. It's good to talk to you.
Yeah, you too, Blayne. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Project Quiver on Salish Wolf. Follow our journey on Instagram at Project Quiver as we seek out the world's most extraordinary traditional bowyers, and join our newsletter at projectquiver.com. Our coffee table book, Quiver, The Art of Life Through Bowcraft, arrives in 2026. We are honored to share with you the beauty, history, and magic of traditional archery.